Julien Laurens back in the house, everybody. And rightly so. France, Germany first up. You will be supporting, I'm guessing, France. Has the potential, Julien, to be the game of the tournament so far, right?
Yeah, it has. Despite them not really being convincing in the last 16 games, both against Nigeria and Algeria. It's just the drama is there. You know, the rivalry between the two countries, the games that we've played against them back in '82 in Spain in that World Cup, '86 in Mexico in the World Cup. Beckenbauer played his last game for Germany against France in a friendly. We've got all those games, all that history between them and us. Even back in this '58 World Cup where we played the game for third or fourth place. It was just fascinating. Two different styles. A lot of players who know each other, who play with each other, against each other, all of that. It's just going to be fascinating.
Now, France have 10 goals so far this tournament. That is equal to the last 3 World Cups combined. Scoring like it's going out of fashion, but all of the goals have come from inside the box. So what does that tell you about the style of this French team?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would like them, and I think Deschamps would like them to try a bit, you know, for further out, 20 yards, 25 yards, just have a good shot. And see, and that's another way to put the opposition team in trouble as well. However, Deschamps has that style with him, either on transition, on the counter-attack, which I think would be very interesting against the Germans, high line at the back, but also the sort of more possession football where you go into the box with 1-2s or little passes or overlapping. And then it's obviously much easier because you've got the chances in the box.
Okay, standout player for France, maybe not the one that everyone was expecting you go for, Patrice Evra.
Yeah, I went for our biggest weakness because we saw clearly against Nigeria that they were insisting on his left-hand side because he's our weakness, and Emenike and Odemwingie really went on his side and he was in trouble. We were in trouble because of that. He had a shocker. They could have scored going through their right-hand side, our left-hand side, and I think that's a problem. And tomorrow, on Friday, if Schürrle, Götze, Müller, whoever plays on that bit, insist on that side, we'll be in trouble because despite having Matuidi ahead of him that come and help him a lot to defend, I think Evra is way past his best, and at 33 he's had a crap season with United, he's having a bad World Cup, and it's clearly, my big worry is that they will insist on his side and he's going to struggle, and that's how we'll be in danger.
Now, France-Germany wasn't good enough for us. Brazil-Colombia right after that. What a fantastic game this promises to be. So much hype around Colombia. Are they the team you think that can stop this Brazilian quest for glory in their home country?
I think they can. I think they can. I didn't really believe Chile would do it. I still think they lacked a little bit of experience and of talent somewhere. You know, they had great talent going forward. We said Alexis Sanchez and all of that. At the back especially, I think they lacked something. It's not the case with Colombia. And I think Colombia, with 50,000 fans behind them as well, could be incredibly challenging for Brazil. A Brazil team that is clearly not convincing again, with Neymar probably not 100% fit. He will play, but probably not fully fit and at his best. With Fred still not scoring, with Hulk doing a bit better against Chile, but still not really being part of the team. You know, it still looked like a sum of individuals instead of a proper team. And still at the back, the same weaknesses. Thiago Silva is heavily criticised in Brazil, because we're not so sure. David Luiz, we saw against Chile, was done too easily, and the fullbacks as well. So Colombia could be the team that just wrecked their dream of winning it at home.
No Gustavo as well. He started every game for Brazil. How big a loss is he?
Massively, because of all their midfielders, he's the Makelele, the holding midfielder. He can go forwards, and he's doing it, and he's got a good left foot, but he's the one sitting back. Fernandinho and Ramirez, who are probably going to play tomorrow on Friday, to replace him, are more sort of attacking minded, if you want. They will go forward more easily than him. One of them will have to sit back, especially against James Rodriguez. We'll talk about that a bit later. And I think for all their sort of uncertainty defensively, losing Gustavo was the worst player to lose.
Dani Alves is your key player for Brazil. How come?
A bit the same as Patrice Evra, because he's their weaknesses. More than Marcelo, more than Thiago Silva and David Luiz. He doesn't have the legs to defend. And again, naturally, he's more of a winger than a right back. So he will always think about bombing forward than about, let's be a bit cautious here. I've got Cuadrado, I've got Quintero, I've got, you know, whoever plays on the left-hand side for Colombia. And I think, again, how many times have we seen in this World Cup him being caught in his back with the ball behind him and him having to turn around and sprint back because he was obviously so high on the pitch. And I think, again, that would be a problem, especially without Gustavo, who would usually cover Dani Alves. He won't be there, and that could be a problem.
You mentioned the head-to-head, Fernandinho versus James Rodriguez. An interesting point, isn't it? Because the last time we talked Colombia, it was a similar kind of matchup that you singled out to be key to that game.
Yeah, remember we went for Rios, who is the holding midfielder for Uruguay against James, and we said it's quite simple. If he and Uruguay keep James quiet, they could win. If they don't, they will lose. James scored the goal of the tournament for me so far, was outstanding from start to finish, and they lost. And it's exactly the same for Brazil. If they can keep him quiet, they will probably win. If James is able to create, to have an impact on the game, either by scoring or, again, creating or doing something special, then they'll be in big trouble.
It's not just the James Rodriguez show. There's so much balance in this Colombian side. You could have gone for any number of players as your standout. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, I went for Juan Corrado, the Fiorentina winger, who can play on the right, who can play on the left, whatever. Who won't last long at Fiorentina. I think very soon, probably even this summer, sign for a much bigger club because he's that talented. He's a bit crazy, so with him you never know. He can be all amazing, or he can be sometimes where things don't work out or he disappears a bit. But what a talent. He's got pace, he's got a lot of skills in a very Colombian way, if you want. He learned to play in the streets and he's playing exactly the same then on the pitch. So sometimes a bit like, how do you say in English? Headless chicken.
Yeah, it works for me.
It's a bit like that sometimes. You just, but sometimes it's very effective as well. And we saw it up to now in the competition.
Do you think the absence of Falcao has ultimately worked in Colombia's favour, bizarrely, because it's connected them and galvanised them more?
Massively. And Ribéry with France, exactly the same. Ribéry's absence has freed a lot of players in the French team. Exactly the same for Falcao. France used to play for Ribéry. Every time someone had the ball, Cabaye, Pogba, Matuidi, Benzema, Giroud, everyone, Ribéry. Every time a Colombian player has the ball, James, Cuadrado, Quintero, Jackson Martinez, anyone, it was for Falcao. Let's find Falcao. Falcao will score. But there's life after Falcao and after Ribéry as well, because you play differently, because there's suddenly more threat. Because the defenders are thinking, well, before we just had to focus on Falcao, now there's him, and there's him, and there's him. And again, he's freed a lot of the Colombian players, and they play with such a flow offensively that Falcao wouldn't have allowed that, because Falcao is a proper box player, and the ball has to come there. With all the pace they have now without him, it's a completely different team.
Terrific stuff. It's going to be an absolute crack, and no doubt about that. Both of them will be, for sure. I'm afraid it's all we got time for today, though. But before we go, let's have a quick look at our predictions table with 8 games to go. Guess what? It's all square at the top of the table. Ooh. Ian Pryor, the Guardian sports editor, and Barry Glendenning, also, of course, from the Guardian. They're tied on 44 points. Marek Larwood is a point behind them. What is going on here?
Someone is cheating.
It's definitely a fix. And James Dart from the Guardian, a point behind him. Julien, we're tied on 38 points. I think we're both still in.
Yes, my man.
It's a long way to go. It's not, as I say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I say that the whole time. And of course, this is the stage of the tournament where class wins out. Am I right or am I right? Mary, our Brazilian dinner lady, she's bottom of the league. Oh, Mary. Hey, don't worry, Mary. There is still time to catch her up on Extreme. That's what we're saying over here. Here are Julien's predictions. Julien, predictions-wise, you've gone for France to win 1-0 over Germany in 90 minutes. Quelle surprise. And then in extra time, Brazil over Colombia. Exciting stuff. That is just about it, I'm afraid, though, for today's show. Give it up for Julien, everybody. Woo! Julien! What do you think? Let us know your predictions for the games in the comments below. Do you agree with him? Let us know down there. And don't forget, you can subscribe for more great World Cup content. Coming up tomorrow, the Guardian's Greg Bukowski looks ahead to Argentina, Belgium, and the Netherlands, Costa Rica. Go Costa Rica. So for that and much, much more content, check it out right here. See you tomorrow.